I think today's showcasing of this industry cluster was phenomenal. We heard the previous speakers to enthralled by the presentations and the work that is being done, not in silos, but as part of the Gati Shakti. And I just want to share a few uh, experiences, I would say, where Hitachi or personally I am involved. I can see that the industrial corridors are primarily connected to the railway and that too with the dedicated freight corridor. And I can take pride that both Eastern DFC and the Western DFC, I have been part of it from the very inception, from 2005 till, very recently when it is getting completed. And I think it's a phenomenal success that these clusters are linked to these very, very important railway network and the highways and of course the airports that we talk about. So in order to accelerate the GDP or the economic growth of the country, we need to connect every cluster, industry cluster, which should be formed based on these concepts, which are very, very strong and important concepts. So, around 2010, when I was in the previous company, when we were trying to look for a very massive piece of land to set up a railway rolling stock factory, and we have to scout in the industrial areas in Chennai, in Tamil Nadu, and then finally we ended up in a private SEZ, I would say, called Sri City. And the speciality of that was that we wanted a test track to be as long as 3 kilometers, to test the trains before it can be commissioned. And therefore, those are very, very special, of course, and we found one in Sri City. And today we heard about different investors talking about the sizes, starting from a very small size to a very big size. But I think what you have to showcase, every size, you have every size. So I think that is very, very phenomenal achievement, to offer to every kind of investor. In terms of connectivity, as we all know, the cost of logistics in India is perhaps the highest at around 15%, and the entire endeavor of Gati Shakti and multimodal logistics hub, multimodal transport hub, and the dedicated freight corridor, and the railways trying to double, quadruple, and whatnot. I think it's a phenomenal work going on. But I can also add that very soon, we talked about people's connectivity. So this is, the freight connectivity, but what about the people connectivity? So I can share that a good example, of the high speed between Mumbai and Ahmedabad. I think that will be a very showcase thing that people can travel through the industrial corridors from one big industrial center to another big industrial center. And not just one, I think we need a large number of such high-speed corridors, and I think that will solve the real problem, whether it is the workers who have to move or the people who are associated for commercial and the other activities they have to move. What it is going to give is a couple of things. One is that you can move very, very fast people from end to end for business and other activities, but also the time taken, time taken from one big cluster or one big city to another big city. It is going to reduce, and it's going to shrink, the geography of the country, so that the economic activity will accelerate. And I think what else than a good example in Japan, or also we see such cases in China. So I really like to share this idea. And the second is that each one of these stations, high-speed railway stations, perhaps can become a smart city or a big city by itself. So, today we have this urbanization issue to solve, people moving into the urban cities, and we wanted to clear, perhaps Dholera was one such example where we wanted to create a smart city, and now we have a smart city as well as an industrial corridor. I think we need a combination of these two. We talked about that, transit-oriented development, as well as industrial corridors, the dedicated freight corridor or the industrial corridors for the freight, as well as the high speed. I think we have to think about all different kind of connectivities and corridors, and I think once these come together, we will see that we are ready for future, we are ready to take off. So these are some of the examples. I'm sure this August audience today will come up with other suggestions. And on behalf of FICCI, I would like to thank you, all the organizers, and especially NICDC for this phenomenal conclave. Thank you very much.